Don't get me wrong, I've got plenty to get into when it comes to the economy, but holy cow, this Andrew McCabe quote is just, it's stunning. The anti-Second Amendment people, they never stop. It's a Michael Walsh line. Michael Walsh, the author of Last Stands, The Fiery Angel, The Devil's Pleasure Palace, great author, great guy. The Democratic Party, the progressives, the socialists, the communists, whatever you want to call it, they never stop, they never rest, they never quit. They never, ever quit. And this anti-Second Amendment, anti-gun hate going around because of what took place in New York on that subway, which they're making a story of trying to make a connection that doesn't even remotely connect, not even close to reality. And then, of course, it's President Biden. He's going to go after ghost guns. Ghost gun is a term meant to scare you. It doesn't actually mean anything. We should break this down and take a look at what's going on with the economics. Great to be with you. I'm Tony Katz, and this is the Morning Rumble. You can tell because, boom, brought to you by Americans for Prosperity, AmericansForProsperity.org. It's absolutely fantastic to be with you. Do I seem excessively bright today? Does everything seem like crazy bright? I don't know. I don't think I did anything different with the lighting, but you know, sometimes it happens. I got to start first with where we are with the economy. Let me bring this in right here. The Dow is up 57. The NASDAQ is up 125. But the story was right here. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Producer prices up 11.2% from a year ago. Every time we talk about the difference between Wall Street and Midwest Main Street, look at that green. Check out that green right there, and then check out what businesses have closed in your town. And that's the difference. That's the difference between Wall Street and Midwest Main Street. And it's very real. It's very true. Prices are up 12%. Inflation, if you listen to Dr. Matt Will, he'll tell you it's actually up 14%, 8.5% year over year, according to the official numbers. That's real dollars that it's costing us to do the same things we were already doing, preventing those dollars from going to other places like going out to a restaurant or going out to a bakery or buying a cigar, as I like to do, and has a real effect on businesses in our towns. Wall Street just keeps on moving and grooving, man. Oh, there might be some more government spending. Good for us. Oh, there's a deal to be made over here. Good for us. You know, in my city, Indianapolis, and I'm not saying no to this. It's very cool. Elanco Health, it just broke ground on a $100 million project in downtown Indianapolis. And I think that's great. It's great for the city. And then you read the story of another restaurant closing not too far away. It's a great example of the levels of disconnect that are going on. I like seeing the growth. I like seeing businesses still move forward even in this economy. But what's happening on the mom and pop side is just absolutely positively brutal as can be. And we've got an administration that still won't shoot straight with us. They want you to believe this is all about the Putin price hike.
As we work to get prices under control and reduce the costs for families. Look, I grew up in a family, not a joke, where if the price of a gallon of gasoline went up, it was a conversation at our kitchen table. It mattered. It mattered with my mom and dad. It made a difference. We felt it. Putin's invasion of Ukraine has driven up gas prices and food prices all over the world. The two largest grain producers in the world, Ukraine and Russia, are not doing what they usually do, so everything's going up. We saw today's inflation data. 70% of the increase in prices in March came from Putin's price hike in gasoline.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop trying to blame Putin. If you don't want to listen to me, Mr. President, that's fine. How about you listen to CNN?
As expected, a big number, 8.5%, the inflation rate over the past year. That is a big number. It is as expected, and it is the hottest inflation since 1982.
The increase in prices obviously long predates the war. We've been seeing inflation rise for most of the past year. In fact, for the last 6 months, inflation has been above the Fed's average target of 2%. So this is not just about the war. This is about persistent supply chain problems, and it's about the fact that demand is really, really strong, in part because of policy choices that we've made.
Hold on. Demand is not really strong because of policy choices that we've made. That's a weird connection at the end. It's kind of like you're trying to say everything I said, don't listen to it. You said the right words there, CNN. The increases predate the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Gas prices already gone up $1 a gallon. Milk was already up. Meat was already up. Bread was already up. The staples were already up. We've been discussing it. For you to blame it on Putin is the Biden administration saying we hate the people that have elected us to govern so much that we are just going to lie to their face. We are more than happy to just keep lying to them because we hate them so much. And some of them are such useful idiots that they will buy in. I mean, isn't that where the term comes from? If you're still making the argument, or you're trying to make the argument that this is all because of Putin, it's not all because of Putin. Every rational person knows this, and you keep saying it. You do that because you hate people, and the people who buy into it are indeed the useful idiots. That's what they used to call the people in the United States who were down with the communists. You know, people like Bernie Sanders. Useful idiots. It's a great term. It works. It applies in so many ways. Everybody knows what we're dealing with. Bad Biden policies and a continued spending and the supply chain issues is what inflation is all about. Too much cash and not enough stuff. This is bad stuff. But Biden needed to spin it. Biden needs to flip this whole thing around, and that's why he's gone crazy about the Second Amendment. Well, you could argue he's always been crazy about it. This is the guy who said that if someone's invading your house, you don't have to shoot him. Just go out to the balcony and fire 2 blasts from the shotgun. A couple things have to happen in that scenario. He actually said those words. First, you have to have a balcony. And I don't know about you, but I'm not Delaware royalty. I don't have a balcony. And second, who fires shotgun blasts indiscriminately into the air? He doesn't even understand gravity, that those things come back down. We warn people all the time not to just fire in the air. Hey, it's the 4th of July. It's Independence Day. Don't just fire your gun in the air. We do it all the time. Joe Biden, screw that. Let's just get people shooting in the air, and that'll scare away. I don't know who it's going to scare away. He doesn't know anything about firearms. So now he's got this thing where he's going after ghost guns. Do you know what a ghost gun is? It's correct. It doesn't exist. It's not real. But they utilize the term to talk about a firearm that doesn't have a serial number. So certainly, as, for example, Steve Gutowski of The Reload would explain, somebody who files the serial number off of a firearm, that could be considered a ghost gun. But that's also illegal. What is legal is you building a firearm in your home for your home. It doesn't have to have a serial number. That is legal in the United States of America, and I say good. So this idea that we're going to go after ghost guns because that's what's causing the crime, that's not what's causing the crime. That isn't what causes shootings. What causes shootings is cultural. It is not the actual firearm. We continue to move down this road with this hatred of guns, so desperate. They can't talk about the economy. They can't talk about the border. They can't talk about keeping China at bay. They can't talk about being a deterrent to Russia in Ukraine. So now they have to go to something else, and that something else is guns. And what do? They tell you that the problem with all the violence we're seeing across the country is guns. Nicole Wallace over there at MSNBC helping out.
Today's so far completely senseless shooting happening less than 24 hours after President Joe Biden announced a new measure to reduce gun violence in America. And while gun reform advocates, folks like Fred Guttenberg, who was on this program yesterday, say that yesterday's moves were a big and important step, the violence that we saw just today shows us how urgent gun reform is in this country, how overdue it is.
The violence she's talking about is, of course, the shooting that took place in New York. You had multiple people injured in that shooting. There is a man of interest. There is a manhunt for him. And they know that he resides in Philadelphia and Wisconsin. He is in his, I believe, 60s, a black male, which they're saying, it seems that they have a problem talking about that because it doesn't fit some level of narrative that they're looking for. But this is a guy who had a firearm that if it didn't jam, he could have hurt more people and possibly killed people. It's amazing that he didn't. He had smoke bombs in a bag. He had fireworks in a bag. He had the possibility of these explosive devices. He was looking to do damage. None of that has to do with gun control. We don't know a motive. We don't know anything about this guy. But everything I just mentioned there has nothing to do at all with gun control or common sense gun reform or ghost guns or anything else. It has to do with a guy who really wanted to hurt a lot of people indiscriminately. And it didn't matter their race. It didn't matter their religion. It didn't matter their sexual orientation. It didn't matter their politics. He didn't ask, hey, who'd you vote for before shooting? He just started shooting, put on a gas mask, set off a smoke bomb, and started shooting. Nothing having to do with ghost guns and nothing having to do with gun control or common sense gun reform whatsoever. And this was not a guy acting lawfully. There are millions of lawful gun owners doing it absolutely right every single day. Enter Andrew McCabe. Now, Andrew McCabe is the disgraced FBI agent who lied to the FBI in regards to the investigation into Trump, former President Trump. He is a liar. Anybody who believes him is a fool. And of course, CNN hired him. I mean, they did what they did. They hired the dude. Don't ask me. I didn't do the hiring. I can't get a job at CNN. But Andrew McCabe, who lied to FBI agents, lied about lying, he gets a job. He said this, and I need you to. I don't know. Do you watch the Morning Rumble while you drive? Because you shouldn't do that. Pull over to the side of the road if you're doing that. If you're at work, don't scream out. Don't be yelling. Don't be yelling curse words, because this is something right here. Listen to Andrew McCabe talk about guns, talk about magazines. At least he didn't call them clips, and talk about, well, listen.
Yeah, so Jim, it's very simple. The more rounds that a mass shooter has and can easily facilitate reloading his weapon, the more damage and destruction they're going to be able to do, which is why we see all of these mass shootings, many of which over the last several years have been perpetrated by things like AR-15 rifles, in which you can very easily reload high-capacity magazines one after another it's pretty easy to do. You don't have to have a lot of technical training to be adept at that. It's a similar situation here with the Glock. The Glock is a semi-automatic pistol. The magazine is inserted through the handle of the weapon, and it connects into the receiver or just into the frame of the weapon. The Glock is designed so that you can buy higher capacity magazines that essentially hang out of the bottom of the handle of the weapon and enable you to shoot more and more rounds without having to reload. So that ability to fire more rounds without having to reload is what makes these mass shootings so lethal. 33 rounds in one shooting by one person, and of course the span of a very short period of time is really remarkably lethal.
It's so unbelievably effing embarrassing the way these people talk. What makes somebody engaged in a mass shooting more dangerous is that they are engaged in a mass shooting. Not that you may have a sidearm that has a 15-round capacity. I just purchased, for my Sig Sauer P365, which is my carry weapon, I just purchased 2 15-round magazines. I am now somehow more of a threat? I am no threat. The guy in question, who they are still on the search for in regards to this subway shooting in New York, he had a smoke bomb, he had gas mask, he had fireworks. He had a multiplicity of things because he wanted to do damage. The size of the magazine with his firearm meant nothing. Zero. The Glock, well, you see, the Glock is really designed to be a weapon of death. Well, I guess you could argue that about any weapon, except there are millions of lawful gun owners who own all different types of Glocks and all different generations, and they're not hurting anybody. I mean, I wouldn't advise breaking into their homes, but they're not hurting anybody. Once again, the anti-gun zealot refuses to accept the fact that there is something cultural happening. There is something of the mind that's happening, and it isn't about the firearm. Just because I have an AR-15 that has 30-round magazines and I happen to have quite a few of them loaded and around the house, that's somehow a problem? I'm not saying that's not the issue. The issue is somebody who thinks, well, I don't like what's happening. I don't like that's what's happening. I don't like what she said. I don't like that politically. So I'm going to go out and hurt people on a subway. That's the issue. And if we were honest, if we had any level of honest leadership, we'd be discussing this. We'd be discussing it culturally. We'd be discussing it from a mental health perspective. And we would be saying, this is a great example of why you don't send in social workers. The cops were called, not the social workers, because there was a shooter on the loose. Just a reminder to the people who want to, they want to defund the police. Would you have sent in the social workers for this? I don't think so. I'm pointing over here like somehow it's happening over here. These anti-gun zealots don't stop. They don't quit. They don't rest. And they know nothing. Listening to Andrew McCabe try to discuss how you load a magazine is just, it's just so gross to listen to. And this from a guy who is a known serial liar, a guy who disgraced the FBI and now gets hired by CNN because disgrace, well, that's their middle name. Can't spell disgrace without CNN. I don't know. That's not actually true. You can actually spell. Anyway, let's go to the questions, right? Everyone's got a comment. You can do that at rumble.com/Tony Katz. Is it Marley? How do I pronounce your name? Criminals don't take gun education classes. Criminals buy junk guns on the street, which jam because they don't know how to use them. Now that much is true. That much is very, very true. They don't know how to use them. Now I asked before, do I look too bright? Like, is there not smart? I mean, that's why I have the glasses, people. I'm just asking. I just think that the lighting's off, and I do have to get a haircut. I don't know what's going on here. Look at it. What is that? What make that? I'm just gonna turn this way from now. Now I got to turn back that way. I don't know what's going on there. The news in Phoenix. Hey, Greg, what's going on, man? You're at 10.9%. You mean your inflation rate? Well, I guess that is possible. State to state, depending on certain needs, depending on distance from certain trucking locations or shipping locations, there could be different levels of inflation. I don't think I'd be surprised by that. I don't think that's that at all. The blame game, says Joe, is all they have left. The American people, even those that voted for this administration, are growing tired of the excuses. Oh, you want to talk about how much I believe in that? Joe, the amount to which I think you are absolutely correct. I get flack for this, and I appreciate it. But you guys understand that I see things often a little differently than my contemporaries. I get the fact that there are people out there who voted for Joe Biden, regardless of the problems with the election. And I argue there were some. What happened in Pennsylvania, I think, was absolutely horrific. And clearly there were issues in some other states. I don't argue with the idea that Joe Biden is president of the United States, right? But if the people who voted for Joe Biden clearly I had enough of Trump. I don't want to hear his name anymore. I don't want to hear about a tweet. I don't want to hear about anything. I'm voting for Joe Biden. They didn't vote for this. And so the argument that I make with my contemporaries is that I am not going to get mad at the people who voted for Joe Biden. I think they were wrong in their vote because they voted with emotion and not their head. And you should not vote with emotion. I'm not voting for a boyfriend. I'm not voting for a husband. I'm not voting for a wife. I'm voting for the people who will allow me to live my life the best and get out of my way. That's what I'm voting for. That's what I look for in a candidate. You don't think I have any kind of oh my gosh, I have to have Trump 24/7, 365. Absolutely not. I'm not anti-Trump, though. Never Trumpers are amongst the most ignorant people out there. Pathetic. Absolutely. It's that I need the person who does the thing that gets out of my way. And if they don't do it, whoop, I put in somebody else. So therefore, it could be Trump, it could be DeSantis, it could be Abbott, it could be a whole series of people, as long as my life is not encumbered by their insanity. Regulations low, taxes low, I get to build my life. Thank you very much. It's all I'm looking for. It's all I want. I actually don't want anything else. And I think that when we talk about the people who voted for Biden, they couldn't handle any more Trump. It was an emotional vote, but they didn't vote for this. They didn't vote for the wokeness in schools. They didn't vote for the inflation. They didn't vote for any of it. Now, the fact that we warned them, well, yeah, but now I got a choice. I can be like, well, we told you, or I can be like, hey, all right, you did that. That didn't work out. Now vote with your head, not with your heart, and let's go 2022 and 2024. What do I want to do? Tell them how terrible they are, or do I want to win the future? This is my take. I want to win the future. That is it. Nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. Let me see what other kind of questions we got here. Boom, 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 boom. Has anybody told Andrew McCabe how many stabs a knife has? Pretty high capacity. You know that they, of course, they've banned firearms in the UK. And then they've taken to saying, hey, don't carry a knife. And hey, here's a knife drop box. And hey, you want to go to a party store and you need to buy some knives for a party? Well, you got to show ID. True story. Absolutely, positively true story. Does anyone have a real plausible outcome of how this administration impact on our country will end? David, I think that's a good question. And the answer is, I don't know. But what I know about the country is that it's always answered by what we do next. So I think that if you stay down a road, if the answer to Joe Biden is more Joe Biden, then we know that the impact on the nation is a level of weakness that leads to Russia being able to handle Belt and Road and their dominance by 2050, as they've been looking to do. If the response to Joe Biden is not Joe Biden, then it means that America said this isn't the way we want to go, and the pendulum does swing, and we have at least 4 years to make serious course corrections. Now, in order to make those course corrections, it's going to take somebody who isn't interested in what the press is saying, is interested in only doing. I think the thing about DeSantis that gets people excited is look at all he's doing. He's actually doing more doing than there is even talking. Now, you could argue it's easier in Florida than it would be on a federal level. I'm not saying no to that. I am saying doing is what gets people excited. Doing, following through. I'm going to do this, getting that done. Man, that's what really and truly moves people. So for us, it's what do we do next? Will we win the House and Senate? The Senate is not an easy one to take back, right? There are plenty of opportunities for Republicans to lose, and there seats that they have to hold. And even if they do get it back, was it going to be 52, 53? Still enough to blunt Joe Biden, but still you need to grow that more. You need to grow it election after election after election after election after election. That's where it's got to be right there. Let me go to COVID panic dying down, and now they go to anti-firearm propaganda. False race issues will be next. Well, false race issues have not left us. We have a story out of Purdue University about a false race issue. We've got a Jussie Smollett false race issue. We've got those kinds of stories all the time and everywhere. I don't think that part has changed. I don't think that part has changed at all. It's there. It is absolutely there. Sharon, I'm sorry if you lost signal, but we're here. We're here and we're doing great. We're doing great, and no problems whatsoever. You might have to fix that. Guys, I'm glad that you were here. I'm glad you're part of the morning rumble. There's a possibility we're not on tomorrow. A possibility. Not 100% sure. So if for some reason we're not here, I will have a note on the Facebook page. But you got to get to the Rumble page. Rumble.com/Tony Katz. You got to get over to Rumble, and you got to be a part of what it is that we're doing. It is so important that we build up the subscribers there. We build things out. And then what we're doing on Locals, TonyKatz.locals.com. We open up the chat room during the radio show. We're going to be having content there. You're not going to be able to get anywhere else. I think we're going to be bringing the virtual bourbon series to Locals. So interviews with celebrities and professionals and really some very, very cool people. So that's going to be happening on Locals, TonyKatz.locals.com. Thrilled that you guys are here. I appreciate it. My thanks to AmericansForProsperity.org, AmericansForProsperity.org. I appreciate you. Catch you tomorrow. Take care.